Hello, welcome back to Hakuna MaChatter and to another actor interview, a view from the inside. Today, I'm joined by a wonderful friend and wonderful actor, Alex Andlau, and we have an incredible discussion for you guys today. I really hope you enjoy. So let's not waste any time and let's dive in. Hey, Alex, how's it going? Welcome to Hakuna MaChatter.
Hey, baby, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. I'm fine. I'm fine now.
You're fine now.
Absolutely fine now. Oh,
Now that the day is over and the glass of wine
in a
is in
bit of a
hand.
day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were supposed to, now that the UK lockdown has eased, we were supposed to meet in person to film this video
I
today.
know.
But unfortunately, yeah, the day went a bit askew. But hey,
It did.
it's a great thing Zoom is still there for us that we can still do this, huh?
Indeed. Yes. Where will we be without Zoom?
Today, we're obviously going to talk about you as a person, as an actor, how you got into the game and everything. Find out a bit about the shows that you watched and enjoyed growing up as a kid, how you view the industry both as an actor and as a fan these days, and the kind of things that you enjoy watching right now. Tell these wonderful people, let's get to know you a bit. Like, what got you into acting? Where did that begin?
I wasn't ever taught acting when I was at school because my school didn't teach it. It wasn't, I went to quite an academically rigorous Catholic school, and the performing arts weren't seen as being necessary to the curriculum. So when it came down to picking my options in year 9 for GCSEs, they knew that I really liked Amdram. I'll get into that in a minute. And they knew I did the school musicals every year. So they gave me the option of, if I wanted to do drama at GCSE, I could go to a different school every Wednesday. So I did. Every Wednesday I had to walk from my school to the school about 15, 20 minutes away. Come rain, come snow, come shine, hail. And I studied it. And that wasn't until I was 14 years old. But I've done Amdram since the age of 11. That was my best friend who got me in on Amdram. And that was just doing pantos every year and musicals. It's also where I did my first bit of Shakespeare. I did my first Shakespeare when I was 14. Again, I was the Golden Casket in The Merchant of Venice. So that was my breakthrough into that. It was really good. They presented the caskets of gold, silver and lead as being like the Andrews sisters. We were like a close harmony trio. It was really clever. But yeah, I just kind of fell into it. I always liked being up and having a bit of a sing and a dance in front of everyone. Like around Christmas, my family, we'd always put on like a little show for my grandparents and stuff with me and my brother and my cousins. But I didn't know I wanted to do it for a career, I suppose, until I started looking at university degrees. After I went to college, I did performing arts at A-level. And the course was called Performing Arts Acting Pathway. So you did singing, dancing and acting with the intention of, you then going into the arts. And I had to come to the decision of whether or not I wanted to go to a drama school. And I did. I auditioned for drama schools when I was 17 and it went horribly wrong. In retrospect, looking back at me at being 17 auditioning for drama schools, I would caution anyone who is 17 and thinking of going to a drama school at 18.
Yeah.
In terms of the kind of training you get at British drama schools, it's too rigorous and intense, I think, for 17-year-old minds to deal with in terms of the juggling.
Definitely. And definitely.
The emotional intensity that they do put you through. Although there has been a bit of a not a backlash, but a pushback against that kind of, beat you up to build you up.
Yeah.
that goes on in British drama schools. Anyway, I auditioned for a few drama schools when I was 17. I won't name names, but one of them being a very well-known drama school. And they held auditions in Manchester, which was much better for me than going all the way from Middlesbrough to London, where the school's based. And to audition for drama schools, you pay a fee, obviously. And I was working at a Frankie and Benny's as a busser, so I wasn't on a lot of money at the time. So in order to pay the fee, which was about £90 to audition, and then get the train from Middlesbrough to Manchester, I think it was probably about £140 I spent. Just there's a reason why I'm talking about the money, because when I got there and I got into the room, I was in the room for about 8 to 10 minutes,
Yeah.
140 quid for that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much the time spent in the room, but it's when I got into the room that there was 3 people on the panel. I remember one of them definitely being a man and one of them definitely being a woman. I made my introductions, told him the Shakespeare piece I'd be doing, and he stopped me and he went, "So Alexandra, whereabouts in the country are you joining us from today?" And I just very proudly asserted that I was from Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
And this, can I swear?
Yeah, oh, please
this
do.
this dickhead on the panel just went, "I didn't realise they taught Shakespeare where you're from." And that at 17 let me know. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to be dealing with. When people walk in the room and they see me and they hear me, especially if I'm doing Shakespeare, this is what I'm going to be contending with. And ignoring the fact that I'd done Shakespeare shows, I did really well at school in English, studying him, just all that ignored. As soon as they heard my voice, next, you know? Yeah. So I ended up going to university instead. And I went to John Moores in Liverpool and did drama and English at the behest of my mother. I just wanted to do straight drama. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing a dual honours degree either, because you'd think doing a drama degree that you get to be more creative, and then doing the English you have to be more academic, for want of a better word, in terms of your writing style. It's completely the other way around. They expect you to be more academic in your approach to acting theory and more creative in your approach to looking at different genres of literature. So it was a constant switching of caps that, like, I couldn't keep up with. I still got a 2-1 though. That's not too bad.
Oh, I mean,
that's not too shabby.
If I'd got a 2-1 in my degree, it's still something to tip a cap to.
It's not too bad. Yeah, I did my 3 years at John Moores in Liverpool and absolutely loved it. Liverpool, and I'm saying this as a Manchester United fan, Liverpool is the greatest city in the world. It's amazing. I'd go live there if I could. I'm stuck in London for the time being. And finished in Liverpool. Did my first acting job when I was about to leave Liverpool, and that was doing the motion capture for a video game and the voice for a video game. Nice. That never ended up getting made, but I've still got all like the test footage, which is, and like the pictures of me in the headset with all the dots on my face, which is very cool. Made me feel like I'm in like an Andy Serkis movie, which is very cool. And then when I left university and had my graduation, they do this big ceremony telling you, you know, this is it, you got your degree now, all the doors in the world are open to you. And then you get back to Middlesbrough and you're living with your mum. Not that there's anything wrong with living with my mum, but you're 21 years old and you're living with your mother. Yeah. And you've got your degree and there's nothing to do in Middlesbrough that's in association with my drama and English degree. Yeah. So I got a job working in a call centre, and I worked there for a year in a call centre in Middlesbrough. Hated it. Loved the people I worked with, hated the job. So I thought, you're never going to get anywhere just sitting around in Middlesbrough. You need to get back out. Because as much as I love my hometown and I'm proud of where I come from, there's nothing there in terms of culture. You know, there's the Middlesbrough Little Theatre and the Stockton Ark, and then the theatre I learned to act in Saltburn, and that's it. So I really needed to get back out there, and I thought, let's just go back into training again if they'll have me. So I auditioned for drama schools again. And the difference from being 17 and auditioning from drama schools and being 21, life experience, you know, there's just so much more of you there. Yeah. And as well as having the academic background now in terms of looking at literature and plays, you're just so much more well-versed. So I auditioned for maybe 5 or 6 drama schools in total. And the first 5 I auditioned for, I either got cut straight away or got through to like recalls and then nixed. And I gave up. And I think May came and I was like doom scrolling through Twitter. And I saw Mountview in London was still auditioning. They hadn't closed the books yet. I thought, okay, I'll give one. I've got a bit of money left. One more go. If not, I'll try again next year. Just give it a go. Did the audition, got a recall. Okay.
Nice.
Went back, got through the first round. Okay. Got through the second round. Okay. And then it came to the final round. I think the reason why I kept getting through is because I knew it was the last one. I'd got all my nerves out in the first 5 that I'd done for the other schools. And I just had no fucks left to give. I really couldn't, there was no inhibition to me anymore. So when it came to doing like improv exercises and movement and things like that, stuff which I'm usually quite self-conscious of, I was just like running all over the room. I was rolling on the floor. When they said jump, I said how high, and when do you want me to hit the ground again? And it came through to being the last round where I did my auditions in front of who was then my head of acting and the man who eventually became my head of acting. And in the interview stage, after doing my monologues, I said, why do you want to be at Mountview? And I'd been through a rough time after I didn't get through. I was really quite depressed because I was in a dead-end job that had nothing to do with the degree I'd trained and worked really hard for.
Yeah.
I was stuck at home and I was in quite a low place. And when they said to me, why do you want to be at this school? I was just brutally honest with them. I said, I don't know what else I'm expecting to do with my life right now. If I don't do this, I have to be at this school. And it was the honesty verging on begging that I think did it, that got me in. If I hadn't have pleaded with them saying that I have to be here, I feel at home here, I feel like I can do really good work here. And I think the two of them just kind of thought, well, she's keen. We'll have her. And I found out a week later, and it was like, the film Billy Elliot, where he finds out he gets the Royal Ballet School and he just starts crying. That was you. That was me. I was just because I missed the phone call because I was at work, so I had an answer phone message, and I listened to it, and it was my head, the woman who was my head, Jackie Somerville, and then the message ended, and I just redialed voicemail, and I listened to it again. And I sprinted down the stairs crying. I was going, Mom. She comes bursting out the living room thinking something awful's happened. She's like, what? I was like, I got in. She's like, oh, is that it? Thinking something horrible had happened. But yeah, so I went and did my master's at Mountview.
Nice.
And my master's, getting on to what we're going to be talking about later, so my master's thesis was on politics in terms of casting, in particular, working class women in Shakespeare roles. So that's just about me up to date, I think, the way I trained. And then ever since, I've been doing little bits of Shakespeare. I did the Cambridge Shakespeare Festival in 2019. And in 6 weeks' time, I'm going back there.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. And then the show must go online, where I met you.
Yes. That
was last year. And loved doing that. And I'm writing. At the minute. I never thought I'd be a writer, but I'm just writing a TV series, and it based on my great grandmother. I've just finished episode 1, and it's going suspiciously well. You think you'd hit more bumps, and I am starting to hit bumps in terms of getting people interested in infused in it and wanting to hopefully invest in the project. But in terms of the actual process of writing, I'm quietly confident about it.
Nice.
That's me up to date. That's me. I need a drink now after that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's an incredible fight what you've gone through, and you hear it every now and then from people, but I think still each story is very unique. And I think what really stands out about your story is I've heard a lot of people who've gone through many auditions for many different drama schools and just sort of give up by the last, and it's just very nice to hear that it shows how much you were ready for this, really, that when it got to that Mountview audition, you were like, this is what I have to do. There's nothing else left right now. And
it's amazing the fight or flight instinct in those kind of situations just takes over. Yeah. And I think it was, I did both. I fought my way in, and as a result of me fighting, I then flew in the audition. And I highlight that out because I'm going to bring that back
later on, for when we sort of talk about your view of the industry now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a key
Cool.
moment for you, definitely, and I you know that, otherwise you wouldn't have brought it up. So now I'm kind of interested to know where you come from as a fan of film and TV and theatre, and you know what if you can think of any from your childhood, the things that stood out to you that were like, oh, I maybe I want to do that.
I mean, there's the obvious ones like Harry Potter.
Hmm.
Being obsessed with that as a kid. And I think it was the fact that I was seeing child actors in it, you know,
Yeah.
who I don't think like Daniel Radcliffe and Rupert Grint and Emma Watson are that much older than me.
Hmm.
Probably about maybe 5 or 6 years older than me. And seeing them being of a similar age and doing it, that made me think, oh, I could do that. Obviously, there's a few more obstacles, and they were very, very lucky. There's also anything that captured like the childlike imagination. So like the Disney cartoons. I had in my bedroom when I was a kid, I had a massive built-in wardrobe, and it was sliding doors, and they were just one big mirror on the doors. And I had like a square box VHS built-in telly that I used to turn around on its stand so I could see its reflection in the mirror. And I'd stick like Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Little Mermaid in. And I would just act along with the cartoons. And I think it's the fact that I did that, but with cartoons that are so much more exaggerated.
Yeah.
That and did that from a really young age. Just got me used to, you know, looking at myself and my form and experimenting with the shapes I could create, and also extending, you know, facial expression and things like that. That gave me that range from being a young kid. And then having a big brother means that I was obsessed with Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, stuff that was a bit too mature and scary for me to appreciate, I think, at the time. But having a big brother to protect you and watch it with you, I think really helped engage me. Doctor Who was a massive, massive influence on me as a kid. Again, when Chris Eccleston came back with it, that was 2005, right? So I think I was about 9, too young and scary. I mean, like the Sabine, I remember watching my brother, like coming in, watching my brother watch the episode with the Sabine in the bit where they unzip them. Like that traumatized me. So I ended up coming back and joining in the fandom really, and being like an obsessive viewer with it, with David Tennant's first series in 2006. And then was just obsessed with Doctor Who since then. And then classic films that my mum's big into, like golden era Hollywood films. So like on a rainy Saturday, Sunday afternoon, we'd get a blanket and, you know, some hot chocolate, and we'd watch like Singing in the Rain. And my favorite film of all time is Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. Just anything from that era I will happily watch, because it was still a relatively new medium. I'm talking about like 40s to late 50s, early 60s. Film was still relatively new. So there's so much experimentation going on in terms of camera angles, and the way things are shot, but also in performance. People were coming in from vaudeville, you know, really early stuff. I'm talking about from like the late 20s to 30s, people coming in from vaudeville, and everything is so big. And it's interesting watching that progression of them narrowing it down for this lens. And the people who spearheaded that refinement, you know, like Humphrey Bogart, Spencer Tracy, Marlon Brando a bit later, and James Dean. And then just watching like the absolute bombshells, like Rita Hayworth's a massive inspiration to me. Marilyn Monroe, obviously, Jane Mansfield. Anything like that, just it's like eating a really nice meal, watching the golden era Hollywood film. You just feel so full and entertained and full of life after watching something like that. Life affirming films like Casablanca and Gone with the Wind and things like that just are so much, like, they give me so much pleasure to watch things like that.
Nice. Let's kind of get now into talking a bit deeper about the industry and about diversity and representation. And, you know, I think already talking about how you sort of found your path into it, there's a lot in there that I'm assuming has probably influenced how you maybe carry yourself, or how you maybe view the industry as it is now. And sort of two things that really stood out to me were, firstly, the reaction to the person auditioning you going, I didn't know that they taught Shakespeare up in Middlesbrough. And then the second of that grit and determination you showed to get through that final audition and eventually make your way to drama school. What are your general views then on how non-London based actors, I think, is where we're going to go with that, because anyone in the UK in the industry knows that it is very London centric.
I've definitely mellowed in my old age. I was a very angry young woman when I left university, and I was angry at everything politically. I still am very politically vocal.
Yeah.
But I've definitely mellowed in terms of looking where at directing my not anger, but frustration.
Sure.
Who or what to direct it at. And initially, when I kept seeing like the same group of actors being cast, whether it was stage or TV or film, and it still happens.
Yeah.
Private schooled, Russell Group educated, people have parents in the industry. In fact, no, let's separate that. People who were privately educated or went to a Russell Group university, and people who have parents in the industry. Let's separate that.
Okay.
I have sympathy for those who had been privately educated and just happened to be actors.
Yeah.
Because they were babies when that was organised and set in stone for them. Yeah. They can't help the fact that they went to, these elite places of education. Maybe not university, they had the choice in where they wanted to go there. But when I think about it, I would have jumped at the chance to go to Cambridge or Oxford or Durham, close at home. I would have jumped at it. Anyone would.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the grades. I wasn't clever enough. I'm clever. I'm not Cambridge clever. But in terms of these private school kids, you can vent. I would prefer to vent at the system that they just happen to be a part of, and then the system within our own industry that favours them.
Yeah.
Because there is a market, especially in America, and to a certain extent in Europe and further around the world, for these, very nicely spoken, upper middle class sounding and looking individuals. They market very well to Anglophiles around the world.
Yeah.
So I don't hold grudges against them, and the vast majority of them are very, very fine actors. Private schools and these universities have produced some of the finest actors Britain's ever produced. So I can't vent at that. With the nepotism, however, in terms of actors being cast because their parents are so and so, or their parents own so and so, or run so and so, that infuriates me more.
Yeah.
Not them personally, but the people who do that, who pull the strings for that. The lack in our industry of push towards getting new talent frustrates me. And what frustrates me more is the lack of getting new talent from marginalised communities, whether that's working class communities, talking about class, whether that's people of different genders, sexualities, or global majority races. The lack of wanting to pull from these ridiculously diverse and rich pools of talent. I don't understand that. Artistic directors, producers, directors, casting directors don't give enough credit to the audience's imagination.
Yeah, definitely.
I said this when I played Desdemona last year.
Yeah.
I for people who didn't see the Q&A, I said that Desdemona is not my type in terms of my casting type. She just isn't. I am resigned to the fact that in my career, on stage and on screen, there is not a great deal of likelihood that I will get to play roles like Desdemona, Ophelia, Juliet, Cordelia to an extent, unless I lose £20 or talk in a different accent. I'm kind of resigned to that. Thank God TSMGO only took on, when you apply to do these shows, you give them a headshot and you give them your CV. That's all they have to. You don't have to tape anything. You don't have to record anything. They won't hear your voice unless they go on your spotlight and click on something, which they didn't do, I believe. They just looked at your headshot, looked at your CV and gone, oh, she's played Henry V. And she went to, you know, again, a bit of nepotism. She went to drama school. She'll be all right. Let's give her Desdemona. I am so lucky that they did that, because I would never have had a go at doing her. I know if I walk into an audition room tomorrow, I've got jeans on this, and if I'm wearing a top like this, I'm going to walk into the room and they're going to look at me and go, okay, she's plus sized, she's got a large chest, she's tall. And then when I start to speak, we go, she's northern. Straight away, based on that fact, because of my size, I will be cast as maybe top of the list comedic relief, then maybe the femme fatales, then the serving staff or the subordinate characters, and then I'll be last on the pile for the leading ladies. And that's just based on appearance and voice, not talent. The lack, going back to my point, the lack of willingness to diversify your leading cast, and this is a result of inherent prejudices towards middle-class performers who are softly spoken with an RP accent, who have been to these schools, who are the sons and daughters of so-and-so, by people of power in our industry, directors, producers, casting directors, artistic directors. Audiences will take what they are given.
100%.
They will sit there with the popcorn, with their overpriced bottle of wine, and they will say, okay, I'm watching Romeo and Juliet this evening. Oh, here comes Juliet. I know she's Juliet because they've just told me she's Juliet and I've just looked up her name in the programme. Oh, she's a size 18. I've never seen a size 18 Juliet before. That's new. Let's see what she's like. Oh, she's a really good actor. Who would have thought it? Oh, her size doesn't really matter anymore. Why? Because Juliet's size, Cordelia's size, Desdemona's size, none of that is mentioned. Shakespeare didn't give a shit about appearance. You know, he describes them as being fair, beautiful, it is the east, and Juliet as a son, what have you. Body size, dimensions count for nothing. Audiences will take what they are given so long as you present it to them. And the fact that people can't get that into their heads boggles my mind. And I think things like TSMGO prove that wrong. Sorry,
well, exactly, and there's so much evidence out there currently to show to reinforce what you're saying. Like a couple weeks ago, I took a look at the Hollywood Diversity Report provided by UCLA, and it showed there that the audience will watch the more diverse shows. Being stuck at home, white audiences, black audiences, East Asian and Latino audiences all watched more diverse films on their streaming services. Because why? Because they had access to them. You know, when the access isn't there in cinemas, in mainstream cinema, and you know, then they're not going to watch it. And as you said, with The Show Must Go Online, they held the Groundlings Choice Award. Groundlings, for anyone who maybe doesn't understand, it was the Audience Choice Awards. The audience chose our lovely Alex here to be the best leading actress. Because guess what? They took a chance and they went, we're going to have Alex play Desdemona. And you showed that, yeah, of course I can play Desdemona because I'm fucking good at what I do.
Thank you. But no, you're absolutely right in that, you know, audiences are far more intelligent than people give them credit for. You think they need to be spoon-fed. And that the audiences only need to be spoon-fed information. And that's down to the writers and subtext and, you know, exposition, what have you. That's their job. When it comes to presentation, it really counts for nothing. what the person looks like, as long as they can bloody well act. And again, going back to my point of nepotism and casting people who are, you know, the children of people in positions of power. Often I find they've been given a nudge forward and they're not ready because maybe they haven't trained, or maybe they're just not that good.
Yeah.
That frustrates me. It's very rare that you'll come across someone who's, you know, the son or daughter of a famous actor or a casting director or the runner of a major corporation who just so happens to get cast in the lead of a brand new TV series that are actually good.
Yeah.
And it's that, go on, dear, I know this person, let me just pull this string.
Oh, yeah.
When I have worked my socks off, you have worked your socks off, so many other hundreds of thousands of actors have trained for this.
Yeah.
And they just swan in. I get the same feeling about West End musicals or shows that cast like 2-bit reality stars in leading roles, and you get people who've trained to be triple threats since they were tots, since they could walk and talk. So they can sing and dance and not get out of breath and belt it out 8 times a week. And yet they'll just get this person in because they think audiences, you know, need to think, oh, I know them, I'll watch the show. If a show is good, then the show's merit will bring in an audience.
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't be down to casting so-and-so from Big Brother in a show. That's like, maybe for Panto, that's an excuse, but for a West End show, it just really knocks me off. I've had a bit to drink, the anger's coming out now.
I know, and I feel like I'm only going to push that anger further as I probe with more questions. Yeah, no, and you know, it shows, you know, that when that kind of thing happens and how, you know, we sometimes have to put in that little bit of extra work in order to get where we are, and we have to, or we get pushed to a limit before we eventually get through to where we want to be, when there are people that can just slide in, due to, you, as you say, nepotism. And and then, you know,
but what can we do to change that? I'm sitting here venting to you about that. The only thing that's going to produce that change is for these people in positions of power, artistic directors, casting directors, producers, directors, taking a chance.
Well, this is
on these kinds of talent.
We're asking them to just make a decision, and it's very difficult. But unfortunately, you know, for us, all we can do is say, look, we're here, we're ready. But we are waiting on them to just make a decision. And unfortunately, you know, I fear for the West End in particular, and just London theatre, and maybe even UK theatre, but predominantly London theatre, and that what we're going to see over the next year, maybe stretching 2 years, is how many big names are going to be in shows where they probably weren't going to be. And you know, there's two sides. There's a couple sides to this, and one is that, you know, we can't sit here and deny them work. You know, they need to work as we do.
Sure.
Maybe they don't need to work as much as we do, because they have a profile that, you know, allows them to get direct phone calls to do work. And also we need our theatres to get the bums on seats. Sure, I get all that. I get those arguments, and I don't disagree with them. It's just sad that any progression that may have started to be made is going to be knocked back a couple years now. And again, it's just going to take in the next 2 years even more so. And I'm thinking of some of the names we're looking to here to make those kind of decisions, and I'm like, it's just not going to get made. But
and then you also look at the kind of, you know, going back to like artistic directors, the kind of shows that they're picking, and the lack of, in terms of the show announcements I've seen recently. Some of my favourites are coming back. I can't complain about seeing, you know, Macbeth or what have you for the umpteenth time, because I love it. But the lack of new writing as well. New writing produces new talent in the acting department as well. And the lack I've seen of new writing, it's because, like you say, they're so unwilling to take the risk in terms of getting an audience for it at a time when they need the bums on seats. And I get that, but it's just so, being as someone who's a new writer myself, it's so depressing. trying to get people to listen.
It is. And, we can only just sort of soldier on and make sure that, our voices, be it in new writing or be it through this medium here, that someone listens and goes, and they are in, even if it's just the one person in one position that goes, oh, actually, I'll do that differently. I can do that one thing differently. And yeah, writing is a big one where it will change, definitely, because, people put themselves at the center of stories. And so if we have more diverse writers, the likelihood of more diverse directors and casts suddenly shoots through the roof. So I fundamentally agree with you there that we're looking to new writing. I'm going to be back working with one of the major theatres in London next month, and seeing the two shows that they're opening with. One cast is visually more diverse than the other, starkly more diverse than the other, but seeing as to which space each show is in tells a very telling story. And I think you know what theatre I'm talking about, so you'll know already everything I'm talking about there, and how you can see that alignment. So yeah, I had a look at that. I was like, yeah, well, we're continuing down that path then, which was a bit, very annoying to see. But at the same time, they are attempting to put on more diverse work, so I can only hope that the show that is more diverse, it proves to them, look, these shows sell. And previous to the pandemic, they did. So they did more so than the least diverse shows, and one show in particular that had two very big names in it. So yes, it'll be interesting to see. Let's move on from there then. And so the next thing that we plan to sort of talk about was moving on to queer representation within the industry as well, because I know that's also something that's quite close to your heart.
I have been out as bi since I was 16.
Yeah.
But there are people in my life that still don't know. And I don't know whether they're going to see this. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, you can let me know if you want me to keep this bit in.
No, keep it in, because I'm going to be 26 in August. So it's 10 years since I came out. And I was forced out, really, because I started dating a girl when I was in college. Hadn't had a boyfriend before. And I was a good little Catholic girl, so these horrible rumours just started to spread about me and, forced me out. And that was a really dark time in my life. But once I came out, everything was fine. But it's just curious me talking about it, because this is the first time I've ever really had a discussion or a debate about being a bi person in the industry. And what frustrates me, that frustration is such a big word in this debate because there is no other word for it. What frustrates me the most is that bi representation in cinema, television, or theatre is, first of all, so limited.
Yeah.
And second of all, when it is represented, we are the promiscuous, the immoral, the villainous. We never just are. It doesn't fill me with much confidence. That's how, when you see it in so many different forms of writing, I say so many different forms of writing, when you see it in the limited range we are represented, and it's almost every instance, that kind of lets me know that, okay, is this how society perceives me? Which is, I suppose, why I've kept it so close to my chest, because that's not me. I'm big into monogamy, and it just, again, being a bi woman in an audition space, again, I don't really talk about it, because if I was going up for a queer role, whether that's a lesbian, bisexual, pansexual woman, I'm not queer enough. I don't look like whatever a stereotypical queer woman looks like, because I don't wear plaid shirts and got a cropped Peaky Blinders haircut, the stereotype. And yet when I'm in straight rooms going for straight roles, if people know I'm bisexual, then I'm the promiscuous flirt, just because I'm into women as well.
Yeah.
And it's just such a catch-22.
Yeah.
And yet when I do keep it close to my chest, I feel guilty, because in times like these where I do feel open to talk about it, I feel like through having not spoken about it, I'm being disingenuous to not only myself, but to my community. And that's not true. I don't think. I've yet to go to a Pride event. I've been to gay clubs before, and I've been out on marches and I've been to events and things, but I've yet to go to Pride. And whether that's because of work or whether it's because of I don't feel like it's my place, because so often the B in LGBTQ plus gets pushed out because we are in such close proximity to the heterosexual community. Which I can absolutely understand where that comes from. The feeling that, the straights are invading their space. I absolutely understand where that fear of the other comes from. Just as I can't understand, because it's ridiculous, where the fear of the other comes from in terms of people who are homophobic. But it's just because they're not part of that community and they don't understand the ins and outs. But it's that feeling of being too much of one thing and too little of another that makes me feel very other, which is why when I see myself being represented on screen, I'm very rarely pleased or proud of the image that comes back to me. In terms of, stuff that I've seen on stage or screen that's made me just well up with Pride. Recently, Lockdown TV, It's a Sin. Yes, it's another age show where it's revolving around gay people or queer people in the 80s and early 90s and the AIDS epidemic and them being promiscuous. There's a few characters in that who are promiscuous and who are proudly promiscuous, openly promiscuous, and that's fine, but not in an unsafe way, which is unfortunately what happened to them. But it was seeing the allyship in that show. I can't remember the name of the lead female in it, but the straight girl who was in it, the straight girlfriend, seeing that representation fill me with hope. I mean, I think, speaking as a Doctor Who fan, I think Russell T Davies is just brilliant. His writing, he can be writing for a 945-year-old Time Lord from Gallifrey and still make it feel so human and real and authentic. And his writing was just that in It's a Sin. And it was painfully real at times, especially in the last few episodes when oh god, I can't remember any of the names of the characters, but when the lad was dying in hospital and he was, incontinent and losing his mind and being almost having symptoms of Alzheimer's or something like that, and just forgetting who people were, that hit home, because I am a child of post AIDS world, really. I mean, AIDS is still very much a thing, but in terms of the panic and worry about AIDS, I am post that. I didn't live through that. I was born in 1995. So AIDS was becoming, something that could be lived with by the time I was old enough to understand what it was. It was something that was not to be feared, that can be easily avoided and can be treated, and is no longer a death sentence. So I think having that emotional punch can give audiences who are not part of the LGBTQ plus community a sense of seeing how easy it is. How easy it is to be a good, decent ally. It's not complex.
Well, also it's like writing human stories at first, and I think that's the important part. It's not, as you say, it's not writing a character who is bi, it's writing a character who then also happens to be bi,
Exactly, exactly.
I just sat down to watch the first episode of It's a Sin the other day because I hadn't watched it yet, and I got that straight away that we're telling a human story here. So, and I think that kind of representation is what is massively important.
It feels good to talk about it, though, I do have to say.
A show you should watch then, which I watched recently on BBC, Trigonometry. I think that's got some good bisexual representation that might hopefully give you something better to connect with in terms of that side of sexuality. So
that's my problem. I don't watch enough TV, so I need to get my butt in gear, I think. It's I will say it's getting better.
Mm.
And I think especially seeing what's going on in America with reopening Broadway and the Me Too movement, reigniting, and people not wanting to return, especially in the theatre community, people not wanting to return to the same norm of producing the same kind of theatre under the same environments, under the same, abusive individuals who do run these kind of things. That pushback fills me with plenty of confidence, and also the amount of new writing that I know will have been created over the lockdown, because I know that's what I've been doing. I've been working my butt off on this project for a year and a half now, and that fills me with confidence, knowing that there are stories out there that are still to be told that are going to definitely resonate with me, because I can't be the only person who feels like this. It's a comforting thought. And I believe it to be true.
Nice. Awesome. Well, that was lovely. Thank you very much for talking about that. That was great. I suppose now let's move on to the kind of films and shows that you gravitate towards now as an adult. How is it moved on for you?
Surprisingly little. I'm still big into escapism. So I've gone through my adolescence with the MCU. And I've been recently going back and watching your channel in terms of, you're looking at the MCU in terms of diversity and representation. And again, Phase 4 is shaping up to be far superior in terms of the representation from marginalised communities. And making sure that women get equal representation behind the camera. Camera? See that again. Camera behind the camera as well as in front. That's very nice of me to know. But I was 12 when Iron Man came out, and I remember that's the first one I saw in the cinema. I didn't see Hulk in the cinema. And going from being 12 to being, God, when did Endgame come out? 2019. Going from 12 to being 2023, that 11-year jump. Growing up with something, I can't then, as an adult, as being a 25-year-old woman that I am now, I can't let go of that. There's a part of me that will always be loyal to it. So I loved WandaVision. I equally loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier. One of the reasons I wanted to come to your place is because I wanted to hold your Captain America shield.
hang on.
I just let me just look at it for a bit. I just want to hold it just for a bit. I just want to hold it. It's beautiful. I want to know, are you going to do a Sam as Captain America cosplay?
Of course. That's my plan. Yeah, that is my plan.
Just checking.
The earliest that will be out will be October. So, yeah.
Cool. I've been really enjoying Marvel's Disney Plus input as a whole, even like the making of series that they did with WandaVision and Cap, but Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm equally looking forward to Loki. Loki apparently is going to have a male love interest.
Yes.
So again, that'll be nice to see some diversity there. What I'm really looking forward to is What If.
Me too.
I am a sucker for a cartoon superhero series, because I grew up on 2 cartoons. X-Men, which is why I'm obsessed with Rogue. And Batman the Animated Series, again from DC, different universe. But I am obsessed with those 2 because we had them on VHS. I think my dad got them from like a car boot sale. So I just watched like this. I watched the same few episodes over and over again because we didn't have cable TV. So I couldn't go on like Fox or whatever it was on Disney Channel to watch them. So I just watched these same few episodes on the VHSs that I treasured, and I've now lost, and I don't know where they are.
Well, the X-Men series is now on Disney Plus, so it's there for you.
I know. I've been watching it.
I watched the Spider-Man one. I smashed through.
Yes, nostalgia. It's just such a nostalgia fest. And I love that. I mean, I'm fully obsessed with Rogue. I love the voice actress for Rogue. She's got one of the most.
Rogue.
I don't understand why she hasn't been done properly. I just, because Anna Paquin's Rogue, that's not who she is. She's not Bella Swan in Twilight. She's not an emo. you know, and that's what she was. She was just Bella Swan in Twilight.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can talk about that another time. But I am so looking forward to What If, because it's not only going back to like the cartoons that I loved when I was a kid, but it's exploring, it's just delving into more of the possibilities that Marvel could take itself to. And obviously, it's going to be the last time we'll hear the late Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, and I think it's going to be really moving. Going back to your question, stuff I like to watch as an adult, again, it's just the escapism stuff. So I just finished Shadow and Bone on Netflix, which I watched through gritted teeth because I loved Shadow and Bone when I read it as a teenager.
Right.
And I was born to play Genya, and I didn't. Yeah. So the actress, I don't know the name of the actress, but the actress who's playing her does a very good job. So I can't complain. But I'm like, I could have done that. I could have done that, you know. Yeah. But again, just I love being drawn into new universes, and Shadow and Bone does a fantastic job at representing people from a wide variety of communities. Mm-hmm. Especially given that it's so integrated into Russian culture.
Yeah.
And you cannot pick a stereotypical Russian because it incorporates, you know, Eastern Europe to Western Asia. There are so many different races and ethnicities going on in Russia. And Shadow and Bone does a fantastic job of representing that.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it. Loved it.
Yeah. As I say, I'm halfway through that series. I'm looking forward to when I finished it to chat about it on the channel, because
you'll have to keep an eye out for TSMG alumni Gareth Turkington, because he turns up in it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
I lost my mind when I saw him on screen. I was like, that's my baby. Stage stuff. Again, I'm just drawn to the absolute golden oldies. I did see something. This is going back to 2019. I saw a new musical at the Civic Playhouse called Wasted. Mm-hmm. Now, please don't ask me to name the writer or director because my memory is not that good.
Yeah.
But I highly encourage any of you to go on Google right now and search Wasted the musical. It's based on the Bronte family. They put it online last year during the lockdown, a recorded production of it, and I don't know whether you can still access it, but if you can, watch it. That is how you write a new musical, and that is how you put on a new musical.
Right.
It was just, I mean, Wuthering Heights is my favorite book of all time, so I was there, sold. And it was just so now, but so ingrained into the obviously the Victorian society that they were born and raised in.
Yeah.
Yet it just happened to be so reflective of women's experience nowadays, especially working class women, like the Brontes were. You know, they were the daughters of a preacher.
Yeah.
Someone who's a member of the clergy, I think. It's profoundly moving, especially I didn't know a lot of the history behind the family and their brother. Very tragic. And obviously it hits close to home too, being that they're from Yorkshire. One of the siblings is buried in Scarborough, which isn't too far from me. I think it's Charlotte that's buried there.
Right.
I'm not too sure, but Scarborough's not too far from me, so it does hit close to home. I like watching things that are northern, that are set in the north, because it's, again, a rarity that you do see that. I like watching things with northern actors in them. Yeah. It's just nice to hear a familiar voice.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a biopic or a documentary.
Do you have a favourite one that stands out?
Biopic?
Yeah.
This is going back to the 90s, but Robert Downey Jr. as Charlie Chaplin. Have you seen that?
No.
It's just called Chaplin.
Yeah.
Came out early 90s, probably like 91, 92. How he didn't get the Oscar for that is beyond me. I'd like to do a biopic. I'm writing a biopic.
Yeah.
But if I could play anyone in a biopic, Janis Joplin.
Ooh. Why Janis Joplin?
I don't think...
Are you a big fan of her music?
I love her music. My mum, for my 16th birthday, gave me her copy of her biography that was written after her death, of her life. She wrapped it. She already had the book, but she wrapped it and gave it to me and said it was mine. Because I remember just before I turned 16, I had a hippie 16th birthday party as well, so it was all themed to hippie, so she gave me the Janis Joplin book. But I became obsessed with hippie culture when I was about 15.
Yeah.
I remember being in the car with my mum, and Piece of My Heart came on the radio, and that was the first Joplin song I heard, and I went, who is that?
Mm-hmm.
Mum just went, just you wait. My mum's a big Janis Joplin fan as well. My mum's a former punk, so she loves anything heavy like Janis.
Nice.
And like my mum was an absolute hellraiser when she was riding around with Hell's Angels when she was my age. So you wonder why I am the way I am, blame my mother. But I remember I got gifted the biography book for my birthday, and I read it. The struggles that she went through were remarkably similar to my own in terms of being like the bullying she had in school. I faced a similar kind of thing when I went to school. She was, for her time, an openly bisexual woman. Obviously, that kind of thing in the media was swept under the rug.
Yeah.
But on the Johnny Carson show, she talks about being at a concert, like playing a concert, and a girl getting up on stage and trying to kiss her. And she talks about like the police just clubbed this girl and took her away, and she stopped the gig as a result of it or something. But the fact that she was just on telly talking about, just totally casual things, she was going to kiss their back. And she was just talking about it like it was just totally normal thing. And that was probably like 1967, 68.
Right. Yeah.
That's brave to have done that, to have just been like, yeah, a girl just tried to kiss me and I was going for it, but the police officer stood in the way. I like how Janis she took the pain she suffered and put it into her art. Not everybody's capable of doing that. Not everyone's capable of being that open and honest with themselves. And it's something I aspire to do. And again, I think doing this interview today has been like a baby step towards that kind of thing. If you could play anyone in a biopic, who would you play?
I always, growing up, idolized Will Smith. I guess a part of me, that would be insane. I'm nowhere near the same height as Will Smith, so I think I'd get overlooked. But
how tall is he?
He must be. He must be over 6 foot, Will Smith. I'll have a look. I'll insert it in the edit so people can see. Boom, that's how tall Will Smith is. Insane, right? I'm 5'7". Height-wise, I'd be more suited for Alfonso Ribeiro, really. But we'll see. Alex, this has been very lovely. Thank you very much. Should people wish to connect with you, firstly, how do you feel? Is that great? Can people connect with you further?
Yes, absolutely. Please. I love chatting.
Brilliant.
I think you've gathered that from this interview.
Hey, it's why I love having you on. So, yeah, where can people find you?
I am on Facebook. If you just search Alex Andlau. Twitter, the same. Instagram is a bit different. It's alex.andlau. But if you just search my name on Google, eventually I will turn up, because there are very few people on the earth with the surname Andlau. So you will find me, and we can chat about Marvel or biopics or Janis Joplin. I don't care. I just love to chat.
Brilliant. Well, all the links for your profiles will be in the description box. Should people
Wonderful.
struggle Googling Alex Andlau and finding you. Lovely. Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much, guys, for watching this new episode of A View from the Inside. It's been lovely having Alex on and talking about Northern actors and just actors within the UK in general and how the industry runs, as well as talking about queer representation and the somewhat lack of decent bisexuality representation on our screens. I'd love to know your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below, so do make sure that you drop them in there. Drop this video a like, and if you've enjoyed this conversation, please do share it so more people can watch it. There's a share button built into YouTube for you to do that, and the more people that see it, the better for them and for you and for us. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex, for being here today. It's been
my pleasure.
Absolutely lovely. And I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.